in the client's kitchen, and one of the fun things about being a personal chef is that you cook in a different client's kitchen each day. So no 2 days and no 2 kitchens are alike. This particular client couple is a family of 2 working people, 2 working professionals, and they don't have the time to shop and cook for themselves, but they like to eat food made from fresh ingredients, and they like to eat healthy food. So I come and cook for them every couple of weeks, and I prepare enough food to last them 10 days to 2 weeks, and then I store it and label it and leave them instructions on what to do with it when they are ready to enjoy it. So today we're going to be doing 3 or 4 entrees and side dishes, which would normally take from the stage of preparation, preparing all the vegetables and the meats, to completion 3 to 4 hours. But since we're going to do this in 28 minutes, a lot of the food has already been prepped to save time, and we're going to be assembling and really showing you the recipes that we're going to be preparing, and not all about how it takes 3 to 4 hours to complete this service. So here we are in the kitchen, as I mentioned, and I want to tell you how I got here. I carry my own pots and pans and my own utensils, and also the client's groceries. I've done their grocery shopping, and I arrive at their home, and I have everything packed in cases, and I wanted to show you some of my cases. This case over here is a thermal case, and I carry all of my perishables in it with blue ice to keep the bag nice and cold. I carry meats and produce and vegetables and also dairy to make sure that it stays at a constant temperature and it doesn't get hot while it's being transported to the clients. This is what the bag looks like. The beauty of this particular thermal bag is that it's on wheels, so even if it's heavy, because it has a lot of ingredients and groceries in it, I can carry it like a piece of luggage, which saves my arms and my joints and my knees, which is truly lovely. The first thing I do when I arrive in the client's kitchen is unpack this thermal bag with the perishables and place them in the client's refrigerator. Now, I've already done that, and we've already got some things set out that have been prepped so that we can start assembling some recipes. I want to show you my other bag, which is actually identical to this bag, but in it, rather than carrying blue ice and perishable foods, I carry my pots and pans, any roasting pans, and I carry a utensil case for all of my cooking utensils that I'm going to be using during the day. I carry timers and measuring cups, the spices that I'm going to be using that day, spoons, my knives, all kinds of accoutrements. I also carry a small container of soap and a clean sponge, so that when I clean up in the client's kitchen, I'm using my own supplies rather than using theirs. Now, everything that I need today is going to be in this case because I packed it from my recipes. So we're going to take a big soup pot out of here, because the first thing we're going to assemble is a chicken and fresh vegetable and barley soup. I'm going to move this case away so that I don't trip over it when I'm trying to get to the stove. Once again, the beauty of luggage. Okay, the first entree that we're going to start with today is going to be a chicken and fresh vegetable and barley soup. So let me bring up some of these beautiful ingredients that we're going to be using, and we'll start assembling. Now, oftentimes when I'm going to be at a client's for the day, I will put on a pot of stock and I'll make a beautiful stock for them, chill it, and freeze it so that I can use it the next week to prepare a soup or a stew. But today, for the sense of time, we're going to use chicken stock from a container. This is beautiful, no-fat chicken stock from apparently free-range chickens. I don't know what that means. It means they get to go out and play. We're going to start with 6 cups of this and 2 cups of water. And then we're going to use 4 chicken breasts and also 3 or 4 chicken thighs. These have already been boned and cleaned. So we're going to put those in there, and when these are cooked and cooled, then I'll shred the chicken so that it will be the perfect consistency. The next thing we're going to add are some onions, some rustic cut onions. And I'm using an onion today that's called a 1015. This is half of it. This onion is this big. These onions are only planted once a year, and they're called 1015s because they're planted on the 15th of October each year in southeastern Texas, in the Brownsville, Harlingen area near the border with Matamoros, Mexico. These are similar to the Georgia Vidalia onions that are the sweet onions, but these I think are even a little sweeter and more mild, and they're absolutely wonderful. I'm going to use this in a few recipes today. So let me get the onion that we've chopped, these are the ingredients that we're going to assemble in this soup today. And we're going to start out with some beautiful onions, about 3 or 4 stalks of celery that have been also rustic chopped, some beautiful baby carrots, and I don't cut these in half. These clients like to eat rustic cut food that looks more like peasant food, comfort food, rather than finely minced. We're also going to add some broccoli and some cauliflower. And I think also, and we're going to add fresh parsley as a bouquet garni, and also some tops from the celery to give it more flavor. And these are large enough that at the end of the cooking process you can just take these out. So we're going to set this on the stove. We'll put in the rest of these onions. We're going to set this on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then let it simmer. Later on in the cooking process, we're going to add some pre-cooked barley. And the reason that I pre-cook it is because barley absorbs so much moisture. And in that process, it can cause your broth of your soup to get very cloudy, very murky. And it also will absorb an enormous amount of the stock that you're using. So I pre-cook it and then stir it in just at the end to warm it. And that's going to be the first entree. Now, one of the reasons that I start with a soup is that this is going to be one of the things that's going to take the longest to cook. So I like to get this on the stove first and cooking so that I can go on to other entrees. I'm going to turn this on and let this merrily reach a boil, and then we'll stir it occasionally and check on it, and when it's completed and the barley is stirred in, we'll take the chicken breasts out and we'll shred those, and it will be absolutely beautiful and ready. Bingo! Now we're on to entree number 2, and this is going to be a dish, a Mexican dish, and it's going to be an enchilada dish. These are developed specifically for the client's wants and needs. We customize our recipes so that the client is getting exactly what it is that they want. So if you have a client who's allergic to garlic, we'd obviously delete garlic from any recipes we were going to complete for that client. This couple enjoys fresh fish, chicken, and hearty soups. So we're going to be doing 2 chicken dishes for them today and a marinated, beautiful swordfish as well. So what we're going to start on here is the entree that involves the enchilada. And what we've done, I'll be right back. The beauty of prepping. Okay, we're going to start with about 1.5 pounds to 1.75 pounds of chicken breasts that have been cleaned and cut into small pieces. And then we're also going to do 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. Now, I don't know whether or not you know how to peel garlic with a chef's knife, but I'm going to show you. You lay the blade of the chef's knife this way, lay the chef's knife on top of the garlic clove, and pop it. Oh my! And it pops right off. Usually. I guess I didn't pop it hard enough. Okay. Then we're going to mince this. And this is going to go in and brown with the chicken in a little bit, 3 or 4 drops of bacon grease. What we did was we started this morning by browning 4 or 5 pieces of bacon. And we saved 3 tablespoons of the bacon juice, or the bacon fat juice, that'd be great, so that we could brown the chicken in that. Let's see, let's start. This should be warmed at this point, and it is. This is 3 tablespoons of bacon fat, and we're going to add to that the chicken and the garlic, and we're going to saute it, or actually I don't even want to saute it. I just want to heat it until the chicken is no longer pink. We'll turn this down now that it's hot. So when the chicken isn't pink any longer, then we'll go forward. One of the beauties of a recipe like this is that you can make the filling for the enchilada, and you can set it aside to cool while you're doing other things. And one of those other things we're going to do is to clean a beautiful red pepper. I love red peppers. We're coming into the season of the most beautiful produce in Southern California where we are, and I'm looking forward to it immensely. We'll have beautiful eggplants this summer, beautiful peppers and tomatoes because we were fortunate in getting enough rain. By the way, this cutting board that I'm using is flexible plastic, and you can get these in gourmet stores and even some of your better grocery stores. They're not very much money. And the beauty of them is that they can be washed in the dishwasher at very, very high heats. They're easily portable, so they're really important to we personal chefs who are constantly traveling and carrying things because they weigh nothing. You can keep them stable on the table you're working on simply by placing a damp paper towel, and that way it won't move at all. And believe me, carrying things that are light. I started out carrying my set of all-clad cookware that I absolutely adore, but my joints were screaming by the second week by the fourth client I cooked for, so I switched to much lighter cookware that I'm very, very pleased with at this point. So let's see. Here's some beautiful red pepper. We're also going to add to this, you know what I think I'll do? I think I will move my onion and use this little plate. I forgot to put a prep plate out for this. Oh my. There we go. Okay, now we're going to add this in just a moment when the chicken is no longer pink. We're also going to add some salt. We're going to add about a tablespoon and a quarter or a tablespoon and a half of cumin. This gives it a wonderful, smoky, rich flavor. And we're also going to add about 12 ounces or so of my homemade salsa. And I've been making this homemade salsa recipe every single Saturday for about 28 years for friends and family and neighbors. And I don't usually give out the recipe verbatim, but I'm going to show you part of it today. What this recipe entails is starting with a base that I've made from tomatoes and peppers that I've used in the blender and in the food processor to make a sauce base. And now what I'm going to do is add minced onion, fresh lemon juice. I've also put some garlic in here. And then we're going to add fresh cilantro. This is wonderful. And I'm going to use this not only in the sauce for the enchiladas, but I'm also going to pour this over the enchiladas before we bake them. So you guys have seen some of Candy's homemade salsa recipe. Lucky you. You know how to really get a lot of the juice out of a lemon? Run it under warm water before you juice it, and you'll get much more juice extracted. We're going to do this. Excuse me. Here's a little juicer that's going to sit right here while we do this. Okay. Lemon juice. Lemon juice really makes this refreshing. All right, we'll set that right there. Now what I need is a spoon. And I have one in my handy-dandy utensil case. So we'll stir this. And then add a little cilantro. I think what we'll do is just move this out of the picture. Pardon me. And we'll chop some cilantro for the salsa. This cilantro is grown in Mexico, and it's absolutely delicious. It's grown in very, very sandy soil. So you'll want to remember when you're using fresh cilantro, first remember always to remove it from the stems because the stems are woody and rather bitter. And what you're going to want to do is rinse it really, really, really well because there's a lot of sand in it and it can be gritty if you haven't rinsed it quite a bit. This minces up beautifully. Okay, so fresh lemon, fresh cilantro, and minced onion, a really tasty onion, in addition to your fresh tomatoes and also whatever peppers look good to you. You can either make this really, really, really hot, like incredibly painful. I start mine out so that it's not exactly mild and it's not exactly hot, but it has a backburn. So you know you're eating salsa. Okay, now we're going to measure out about a cup of this and add this to the chicken. The chicken is no longer pink, so we're going to start building on this recipe now that we have a basis for it. We're going to add 2 cans of black beans with the juice, because the juice is going to act as a thickener. So far we have 1.5 to 2 pounds of chicken, 2 cans of black beans. Then we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of ground cumin. This is wonderful. And we're also going to add a minced red pepper. And we're going to stir that in. And if you'll bear with me for 1 second, we're also going to add a cup of the homemade salsa, which I'm going to dole out here right now. And if you don't make your own salsa and you want to do this recipe, you can use pre-prepared salsa or store-bought salsa or picante sauce, something like that. But it really is better if you make your own, if you can get the ingredients locally. Now we're going to combine all these beautiful ingredients, the beans and the cumin and the fresh salsa and the red pepper and the chicken, and we're going to let this just simmer, this beautiful combination just simmer so that it will thicken. And when it's thickened, we're going to take it off the stove, add some crumbled bacon, fresh cooked bacon to it, and also some minced scallions to give it a nice little flavor. Once this is thickened, we'll add the bacon and the scallions, and we'll let it cool, because then we're going to roll it into enchiladas and store it for the client's future use. So we're going to leave this right here and come back to it later. Okay, the soup is souping, the enchilada mixture is thickening, and we're going to work on this final entree. In the interest of time, we're going to assemble this marinade for the swordfish, this beautiful swordfish that's fresh. We're going to assemble it quickly. So what I've done is I've juiced 3 oranges. I'm going to use approximately a cup of fresh orange juice, and also about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. So we'll add that. And then this is the juice of a lime. So we have lots of beautiful citrus in here. And I've also sliced some orange slices to go into the marinade. What we're also going to include is some orange zest. These little things are so handy, these wonderful zesters, because you just get the zest and not the pith that's bitter. So this is absolutely perfect. These navel oranges this time of year are just absolutely marvelous. So after we add the zest, this is plenty, we're going to also add a drop or 2 of really good olive oil. And this is going to make sure that after you've marinated the fish and you're grilling it or broiling it, that the fish isn't going to stick or get dried out. This way it won't stick to your grill pan. This is some wonderful olive oil. And we're going to use about a tablespoon. You don't need too much. Okay, the last ingredient in this marinade is basil, and this basil is fresh from my garden. We picked it this morning. It's absolutely marvelous. And what we're going to do is a chiffonade, and I don't know whether or not you can see it. I'll work over here so perhaps you can see it a little easier. A chiffonade is where you layer each of the individual leaves of the fresh basil, and then what you're going to do is roll it up so that it rolls up. You know, a lot of you have really good rolling techniques for other things that are homegrown. This is for fresh herbs that are legal. Okay, you roll it like a little basil cigar. And then you just mince. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so we're going to add this beautiful chiffonade of fresh basil. I wish this was smell-o-vision. This smells so good. It's absolutely incredible. Now, what we're going to do with the marinade is we're going to put it into a Ziploc freezer bag, a nice heavy Ziploc freezer bag, just like this. And then we're going to place these beautiful swordfish steaks in here, and we're going to let them marinate all afternoon long, so that when the clients get home for dinner tonight, what they like to do is be able to sit outside and grill these while they enjoy a glass of wine after a busy day's work. So we'll also put these orange slices in here because while they're grilling the fish at the very end, they can also grill the orange slices, and they're absolutely delicious. My grandmother grew up on the Adriatic, and fresh fish was a large portion of their diet, so she taught me all kinds of ways to marinate and cook and grill fish, for which I am very grateful. I grew up cooking with my grandmother. I'm one of many, 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 many cousins, and the way for me to be closest to her and to spend the most time with her was to spend time with her in the kitchen. So I learned from a lovely little European lady how to bake bread, how to make our own pastas and noodles, and even make our own phyllo dough. So I've got a very good education from a very young age. Great. Now this is going to sit in the refrigerator. We're going to turn it a few times this afternoon so that it has plenty of time to marinate, so that it has that wonderful citrus flavor when the client grills it this evening. Isn't that gorgeous? Can't you just taste it? Okay, I'm going to be back in a minute and show you how to roll these enchiladas. We've reached the final stage of the soup. I've removed the parsley and the bouquet garni and also the celery tops. And we're going to add at this point fresh mushrooms, fresh sliced mushrooms. Oh, this soup smells so good. Also some diced tomatoes. And this is the pre-cooked barley. Now this is the best way to do it so that it doesn't absorb all your beautiful broth and stock, and so it doesn't make your stock murky. Perfect. And at this point we're going to add a little dash of salt. And we'll let this simmer for just a few minutes, and the soup will be completed as well. Now we're going to go roll some chicken and black bean enchiladas. If you want to walk this way with me, I'll show you how it's done. We've cooked the filling so that it's nice and thick, and at this point I've taken it off the stove, and I'm going to add some crumbled up bacon from the bacon that we started with this morning, about 4 or 5 pieces, and also about a half cup of minced green onions. And then we'll stir this in. And instead of making big, huge pans of this dish so that the client is facing 6 or 8 enchiladas for one meal, I wrap these 2 at a time in aluminum foil, and then I put 5 or 6 packages of 2 enchiladas each into a Ziploc freezer bag so that when they're ready for dinner, they can just take out 2 enchiladas and bake them in a 375 to 400 degree oven for about 20 minutes. And their enchiladas absolutely hot and ready to be eaten, and they only have 2 instead of a whole bunch so that they don't have a lot of food left over. So let me get some enchiladas here and we shall get started. There we go. So we have everything we need. I'm going to be rolling on a piece of aluminum foil that I've sprayed with cooking spray. That way the enchilada and the tortilla won't stick to the aluminum while it's baking, and you won't have to peel it off. So we're going to do this. I think I'm going to do it this way. Here's one, and here's one. We're going to set these right here. Okay, so we want to use about 1/4 cup scoop, or you can even use an ice cream scoop if you're doing that. That's a really good measure as well, because the filling is going to expand. So if you do a little bit of the filling and a little bit of grated Monterey Jack cheese, and I pre-grated this to save some time, then you're going to want to, I don't know how many of you roll enchiladas regularly, but this is how you do it. You pull it all the way back, and then you roll it up this way, and then you set it right here in this tin foil. I don't know whether or not you can see it. Can you see it? Can you see that, Pat? Why don't I move all of this over? We'll move the whole process over, and we'll put it right there. How's that? Okay, then we're going to do this one with 1/4 cup of filling. This filling is so good. And you really don't need more than 1 of these. 2 is really an awful lot of food. They're so filling because they're so very rich. A little cheese. And then we roll it. Okay, when you have 2 of the enchiladas in here, what I do is I sprinkle a little more cheese on the top. This isn't for the faint of heart. And then I put a dollop of the homemade salsa on the top as well. Isn't that pretty? That's a major meal. Then we're going to roll this like a little envelope, like a little package. And from this recipe that we've made today, you can get probably 14 to 16 enchiladas out of this recipe, so they go a long way. Around this neighborhood, when I make enchiladas, I make probably, 5, 6 dozen at a time for neighbors who all want them as well. Now, I store these two packages at a time in a Ziploc bag, and I squeeze all of the air out of it so that they're not going to get any freezer burn. Another package would go right here. But we're going to seal this, and then we'd put a label on it for the client, letting them know that it's chicken and bean enchiladas and the date that I cooked it and how many packages there are in here. And then this is right into the freezer for them. Okay, that's it. We've done it. 3 entrees, side dishes, and a salad in less than 28 minutes. I'll tell you, personal chefs are amazing. These are our beautiful entrees that we've completed. This is the citrus marinated swordfish with a long grain and wild rice side dish with grilled oranges and fresh basil to be enjoyed with a beautiful tossed salad. This is the homemade chicken and barley and fresh vegetable soup that can be served with a really crusty French roll or Italian roll. And these are the beautiful enchiladas with the black beans and the chicken that can be served with fresh salsa and a dollop of sour cream. And we've made some Mexican rice, and that can also be served with a beautiful tossed salad. So if you're interested in more information about personal chefs, you can visit us at our website. We'll also post these recipes for you if you'd like to have a copy of the recipe. And you can reach us at www.personalchef.com, or you can even call us and ask us to mail it to you if you don't have a computer. You can call us at 800-644-8389, give us your address, and we'll be happy to send the recipes out to you.